Hockey Night in Belmont, back with another video about hockey cards. And I went back to St. Jacob's Antique Market and picked up some more hockey cards. They're from 4 different sets, and I think I spent only $25 for these cards. So let's take a look. So the first 4 come from the same set. They're from the 1969 O-PEE-CHEE set. This is sometimes called the stamp set or postmark stamp, because sometimes you can put a stamp on the back of these. And the first guy we have, which I paid $2.50 for, is Montreal Canadiens winger John Ferguson. This card's in okay shape. It's in good condition, not fabulous condition. John Ferguson won 5 Stanley Cups with the Montreal Canadiens, and he was also a general manager at times for the Winnipeg Jets. And after his playing days were well over, he was an assistant coach with the 72 Summit Series, and then later became a GM for the Winnipeg Jets, I believe. Anyway, he played 8 years in the NHL, played 500 games, scored 145 goals with 303 points, 1,216 penalty minutes, and was a plus 119. So he was a tough guy who could also play. Like I said, he won 5 Stanley Cups with Montreal, and he was a part of that team. In 85 games, he had 20 goals, 18 assists for 38 points, 260 penalty minutes. He was the guy you didn't want to mess with. He cleared space for guys like Beliveau and Henry Richard. He once semi-retired in 1970, but Montreal begged him to come back. So we have that one. Next up we have Philadelphia Flyers defenseman Larry Hillman. Paid $3 for this card. It's about the same shape as the Ferguson card. Larry Hillman won 4 Stanley Cups and 1 Avco trophy. Started his career with the Detroit Red Wings, then went to the Boston Bruins, Toronto Maple Leafs, Minnesota North Stars, played for Montreal, then Philadelphia, LA Kings, Buffalo Sabres, Cleveland Crusaders, and finally the Winnipeg Jets. So he had a really long career. Won a Stanley Cup in Detroit, won a Stanley Cup in Toronto, and won a Stanley Cup in Montreal. And then won the Avco with Winnipeg. So he's definitely in demand. Played 791 AHL games, 36 goals, 232 points, and then 196 WHA games, 6 goals, 55 points, nothing special. 74 NHL playoff games with 11 points, and then 17 WHA games with only 6 points. So nothing special there. Claimed an interleague draft by Chicago from Detroit in 57. 60 claimed by the Leafs from Boston. 68 claimed by the Rangers from Toronto. And 68 claimed by the North Stars from the New York Rangers. And again in 69 claimed interleague draft by Philadelphia from Montreal. So he was claimed a lot in the interleague draft. So he was a good player, but he wasn't a great player. He was your fourth defense. He was on your 3rd defensive pairing, where he was the 7th guy in the defense. If you had injuries on your defensive squad, you get him. Then in 71, I traded from LA Kings with Mike Byers to Buffalo for Mike Keeler and Doug Barry. Can't say who won that deal, considering that he went to the WHA and so did Doug Barry. Now we have Boston Bruins center Derek Sanderson. Colorful guy. The comic on the back says teammates called Derek Turk, and he's one of the more stylish Boston Bruins guys. He was known in the set for his fashion sense. Won 2 Stanley Cups with the Boston Bruins. Got traded to the Rangers in 74. Then traded to the Blues, then the Vancouver Canucks, and then finally the Pittsburgh Penguins. Also played 8 games in the WHA before returning to Boston. So he was traded from the New York Rangers to St. Louis Blues for an additional round 1 pick in the 76 draft. Traded from St. Louis to Vancouver for future considerations. Released by Vancouver signed by Pittsburgh. I think drugs was his big downfall, if I'm not mistaken. Played 598 NHL games with 202 goals for 452 points. 56 playoff games, 18 goals for 30 points. He also won the Calder the Rookie of the Year in 1967-68 when he had 24 goals, 25 assists for 49 points in 71 games. All right, next up we got LA Kings center Dennis Hextall. This is a rookie card. He's one of 3 hockey playing brothers. I know Brian Hextall is another one. I can't remember who the third brother is. Anyway, Dennis Hextall started his career with the New York Rangers, then with the LA Kings, California Golden Seals, Minnesota North Stars, where I have several of his cards, Detroit Red Wings, and Washington Capitals. I have his Capitals card too, as well as some Red Wings. So I have quite a few of his cards. 1976, he was traded from Minnesota to Detroit for Bill Hogaboom and a conditional draft pick. 79, he was released by Detroit, and then 79, he was signed by Washington. His best years were with Minnesota. We had a career-high 30 goals and 52 assists for 82 points. Got him an All-Star nod, like he played in the All-Star game. Other than that, he played 681 NHL games, 153 goals, 503 points, almost 1,400 penalty minutes. So he wasn't shy about fighting or playing dirty. That's for sure. So those are the 4 cards we have from that set. Then from the 1970 O-PEE-CHEE set, when Philadelphia won their first Stanley Cup, and this is called the Movie Star set because of the bright lights behind them, we have New York Rangers center Walt Tkachuk. Only paid $3.25 for this. It's in fair condition. It's got a little bit of a crease there. Tkachuk spent his entire career with the New York Rangers. 945 games, 227 goals, 678 points. He was a plus-minus of 184, which means he was pretty good. He played in 1 All-Star game. Also appeared in 2 Stanley Cup finals with the New York Rangers. They lost the first one in 72 to Boston and lost the 79 Cup to Montreal. So in 93 playoff games, he had 19 goals, 32 assists for 51 points. And was a 15 plus minus. Retired at the end of the 81 season. Not a bad player. He actually lives in London, Ontario, and does a lot of golfing. Heard he's a really approachable guy. Alright. Next, we have 2 cards from the 1973 O-PEE-CHEE year when Montreal won a Stanley Cup. And these are just leaders. So the first one is the Phil Esposito and Rick McLeish goal leaders card. Back then, the NHL was divided into East and West. Philly was in the West for some reason. The West Division had mostly expansion teams. Phil Esposito had 55 goals. Mickey Redmond had 52. Jacques Lemaire had 44. That's the top 3 there. And in the West, Rick McLeish for the Flyers at 50. Bill Flett for the Flyers at 43. And Jim Pappen for the Blackhawks at 41. And then we also have the power play goals. Phil Esposito led the East and Rick McLeish led the West. Esposito had 19 power play goals, followed by Ken Hodge of Boston with 16. Mickey Redmond of the Wings with 15. Then Rick McLeish had 21 power play goals. Mike Corrigan for the LA Kings and Bob Berry for the LA Kings had 14 apiece. And the list goes on. These cards are in pretty good shape. Paid $5 each for these. So it's not too bad. The very last card I have comes from the 1974 O-PEE-CHEE set. This is when Philadelphia won their very first Stanley Cup. And it belongs to center Bill Clement. This is a rookie card. Despite the fact the guy had already played 151 games, he finally gets a rookie card. It's in good shape. Paid $5 for that card. He won 2 Stanley Cups with the Philadelphia Flyers. Then moved on to Washington and the Atlanta Flames. And then when Atlanta moved to Calgary, he was there too. Retired in 82. So 11 years in the NHL, 719 games, 148 goals, 356 assists. In the playoffs, 50 playoff games, he had 5 goals, 3 assists for 8 points. So that's why they let him go to Washington. He was part of their expansion draft, despite scoring 21 goals, having 16 assists for 37 points that year. In 75, when they won their second cup, they let him go in expansion. Now in 1976, Bill Clement has played for 3 different teams on 3 different nights, straight nights. The only person in NHL history that's ever done that. So he played Friday night in Washington, and then on Saturday night he played in the All-Star game. And then he was traded to the Atlanta Flames and drove down over to Philadelphia where they were playing, and played in that game for the Atlanta Flames on Sunday night. So on Friday night he was in Washington, then he was in the All-Star game, and then he went to play for the Atlanta Flames. So 3 different teams on 3 different nights consecutively. That's an NHL record. I have his cards when he played for Atlanta and for Calgary. Just a good third line guy. But there we have it. We have 8 cards from 4 different sets. And hopefully we'll get more. Next time I go to St. Jacobs, hopefully they have better deals where they have more cards that I can pick up. But we'll see. So all you hockey card fans out there, stay tuned. I'll keep coming out with more stuff as I get it. Leave comments in the comment section. Until next time, this has been Hockey Night in Belmont.